Imagine being exposed to 150 to 6,000 chest X-rays over the course of a year. Sounds alarming, doesn't it? That's what astronauts in space deal with daily. Welcome to the thrilling yet perilous world of space, where radiation levels are hundreds of times greater than those we experience here on Earth. It's like comparing a gentle spring shower to a turbulent ocean storm. It's a whole different ballgame out there. Now you might be wondering, what exactly is space radiation? Well, it's not like the radiation we're familiar with here on Earth. It's primarily composed of atomic nuclei from the sun and other celestial bodies that have been stripped of their surrounding electrons. These high-energy particles, known as galactic cosmic rays or GCRs and solar particle events or SPEs, are the main sources of space radiation. Let's put this into perspective. An astronaut aboard the International Space Station is exposed to radiation levels equivalent to getting a whole-body CT scan every 5 to 6 days. That's quite a dose, isn't it? But wait, it gets even more intense. During periods of increased solar activity known as solar particle events, this radiation dose can skyrocket, reaching levels thousands of times higher than normal. But why is space so radioactive? Well, here on Earth we're protected by our planet's magnetic field, which acts like an invisible shield, deflecting most of these harmful particles. But in space, there's no such protection. These high-energy particles can zip through the walls of a spacecraft, and even through the human body, causing damage at a cellular level. So, space radiation is not just some abstract concept for astronauts and scientists to worry about. It's a very real and present danger that can have serious implications for the future of space travel and exploration. So if you thought space travel was all about zero-gravity fun and stunning views, think again. There's a silent, invisible enemy to contend with: radiation. But hey, don't panic just yet. Did you know you're being exposed to radiation right now, even as you watch this video? Yes, you heard that right. It's called background radiation, and it's a natural part of our everyday lives. It's in the air we breathe, the food we eat, and it's even coming from space. Let's take a banana, for instance. Bananas are a great source of potassium, right? But here's the catch. Potassium contains a tiny amount of radioactive isotope, potassium-40. When you bite into a banana, you're getting a small dose of radiation. But don't worry, it's not enough to turn you into a superhero or a mutant. Your body is designed to handle this small amount of radiation without any adverse effects. Now let's talk about something a bit more relatable: air travel. Have you ever wondered why flight attendants always seem to be in such a hurry to get you to put your seatbelt on? Well, one of the reasons is radiation. When you're cruising at 35,000 feet, you're actually much closer to the sun and further from the Earth's protective atmosphere. This means you're exposed to more cosmic radiation than you would be on the ground, but again, it's not something to lose sleep over. The radiation dose you get from a transatlantic flight is about equivalent to a chest X-ray. It's a small amount that our bodies can handle. Here's another fun fact. Living in a brick or stone house exposes you to more radiation than a wooden one. Why? Because these materials contain small amounts of naturally radioactive elements like uranium and thorium. So what's the point of all this? It's to help you understand that radiation is a natural part of our world. It's around us all the time, and our bodies are built to handle it. So, while the radiation in space is certainly more intense, we're not exactly radiation-free here on Earth either. And remember, just because something sounds scary doesn't mean it's harmful. After all, radiation is just a fancy word for energy that travels in waves or particles. Now, what does space radiation do to the human body? Spoiler alert, it's not like gaining superpowers in a comic book. Imagine being exposed to a constant stream of tiny, invisible, high-speed particles. This is the reality for anyone in space. Space radiation, unlike the radiation we experience on Earth, comes from the sun and beyond our solar system, and can have a significant impact on the human body. First off, let's talk about radiation sickness. It's not a term you hear often, but it's a very real concern for astronauts. Radiation sickness results from large amounts of exposure to space radiation in a short period. Symptoms can range from nausea, fatigue, loss of appetite, to more serious ones like damage to the bone marrow, which is critical for blood cell production. Next, there's the long-term risk of cancer. We know that radiation can damage the DNA in our cells, which can lead to mutations. Sometimes these mutations can cause cells to grow uncontrollably, leading to cancer. Astronauts are exposed to a higher dose of radiation in space, which increases their risk of developing cancer later in life. And it doesn't stop there. Research suggests that space radiation can potentially damage the nervous system, including the brain. This could result in cognitive impairment, reduced motor function, and behavioral changes. Not exactly the kind of changes you'd want to deal with while navigating the vast expanse of space. However, it's not all doom and gloom. Understanding the effects of space radiation on the human body is a crucial step in developing measures to protect astronauts. Scientists and researchers are continually working on ways to mitigate these risks, from developing more effective shielding materials to exploring the possibility of medications that could counteract the effects of radiation. Clearly, space radiation isn't something to take lightly, but don't lose hope, future astronauts and space enthusiasts. As we continue to push the boundaries of human space travel, we also continue to innovate and find ways to keep our astronauts safe and healthy. Luckily, smart people around the world are working hard to keep astronauts safe from space radiation. When it comes to protecting our brave space explorers from the invisible yet potentially harmful effects of space radiation, we're not taking any chances. Our spacecraft and spacesuits are specifically designed to shield astronauts from these dangerous particles. First up, let's talk about spacecraft. The International Space Station, for instance, is built with materials that help to block out some of the radiation. It even has special storm shelters that astronauts can retreat to during periods of intense solar activity. However, even with these precautions, astronauts aboard the ISS are still exposed to radiation levels about 5 times higher than what we experience here on Earth. That's why our spacesuits also play a crucial role in protecting astronauts. Spacesuits are made with multiple layers of protective material. This includes a layer of lead, a well-known radiation blocker. However, lead is heavy and not ideal for mobility, so scientists are always on the lookout for new materials that can provide the same level of protection, but at a fraction of the weight. One promising area of research is in the use of hydrogen-rich materials. Hydrogen is excellent at blocking space radiation, and it's much lighter than lead. So, future spacesuits might well incorporate hydrogen in some form. We're also exploring the use of electromagnetic fields. Just like Earth's magnetic field protects us from solar radiation, a miniature magnetic field around a spacesuit could, in theory, do the same for an astronaut. But it's not just about physical barriers. Scientists are investigating medicines that could help the body repair damage caused by radiation. This could be a game changer in long-duration space travel. Of course, all this research doesn't come easy. It requires time, resources, and a whole lot of brainpower. But the payoff is huge. Not just for the safety of our astronauts, but for the future of human space exploration. The future of space travel depends on these advancements in radiation protection. It's an exciting time to be a space enthusiast. You might be wondering, what can I do about all this? You'd be surprised. The first step towards combating radiation exposure, whether in space or here on Earth, begins with knowledge. Familiarize yourself with the basics of radiation, its types, sources, and effects. The more you know, the better you can protect yourself and others. Now let's get practical. You don't need to be an astronaut to encounter radiation. It's a part of our daily lives, from the sun's rays to the medical X-rays. So, how can we limit our exposure? Firstly, when it comes to the sun, moderation is key. Enjoy those warm rays, but be cautious about the duration. Wear protective clothing, apply sunscreen, and avoid the peak hours of ultraviolet radiation, usually between 10 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon. Next, let's talk about medical radiation. While X-rays and CT scans can be life-saving, unnecessary exposure should be avoided. Always discuss the need for these procedures with your healthcare provider and ensure they're absolutely necessary for your diagnosis or treatment. But what about space radiation? Well, unless you're planning a trip to Mars anytime soon, it might not be an immediate concern. However, supporting science and technology that strives to understand and combat space radiation can make a significant difference. This could involve anything from staying informed about the latest research, to supporting space exploration initiatives, or even pursuing a career in a related field. Remember, every effort counts. Even if you're not launching rockets or designing radiation shields, your actions matter. By understanding radiation and taking steps to limit exposure, you're not only protecting yourself but also contributing to a larger global understanding of radiation safety. Every little bit helps, and your awareness is the first step. Stay curious and keep exploring the universe responsibly and safely.